So here we are, live streaming with Mayowa Adeoti based in Lagos. And uh, we, yeah, there we go. Live stream is starting. And yeah, we're glad to have you here. I say we, although, it's more me and you, but, you know, I think, this is an interesting talk here we're going to have because we have not ever met in person. We were connected by Shira. Thank you, Shira. And something we realized very early on is we both believe in many of the same philosophies and trying to do a lot of the same things. And I think that's a really good really good way to start. What are your passions and missions? How would you describe yourself?
Okay, so just to describe myself, I'm this kind of person that I get geared towards doing a lot of social impact initiatives from a tech standpoint, and this focuses more around building tech skills among young people, which I've been doing for a very long time now across Africa. So far I've been able to achieve training young Africans, about a little over 500,000 young Africans on different tech skills across Africa. So this is something that I'm actually passionate about, and that wasn't the plan. It changed over time, and it changed from where I saw that there was actually a lot of difference in terms of I will use the word surge for tech experts. When I was in Dubai, Middle East, when working for IBM, we had a very huge stopper where we were supposed to actually hire a lot of Africans for our enterprise clients to solve some of their tech challenges, from mainframe to cloud, and then to this the current artificial intelligence. Then we were actually one of the first company to be in that space alongside blockchain and the big data. But we had a lot of a shortage. We noticed a lot of shortage, and then we said, hey, how do we help in filling up this skills gap? And then that's where all of this initiative started. And then we started with universities, colleges, polytechnics across Africa. I was managing West and Central Africa, inclusive of Southern Africa, excluding South Africa. And for me, my focus was, hey, university, how do we're not going to change the curriculum because we don't have that power or capabilities to do that. But let's enhance what you have by actually adding our own course curriculum to help fill up the gap that you have. And that's where we started. And now is history, because currently, before I left the company, we were also catering for people that are less privileged, never been to school before, and they're in rural areas. They don't have that access to go to university system or even colleges. And then even people that are already professionals, but obviously not happy where they are, but they're looking for where is the next big thing, or even maybe not just the next big thing, but just want to be in tech because that's what the world is talking about. Yes, this is what we use the last program to actually achieve. And I've done this for IBM, Safety Smart, and now here we are, Tech Tree Roads. We're doing the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think one of the really interesting things is when we connected, we started talking about what we can do together, how we can, you know, really
Correct.
create a lot of the impact. And you know, now very quickly that led to us saying, okay, you're VP Africa for Tech Tree Root. But we do very much a lot of the same things. We're trying to recruit partners and sponsors. We're trying to recruit
Correct.
participants, mentors, moderators, volunteers. Sometimes adding team members and saying, hey, what more can we do? And then even then, you help me with navigating some things, discussing and negotiating with various entities. you know, the speakers that you find, you know, I'll be interviewing them. And of course you can join as well. You know, it doesn't have to be just one-on-one. It could be panels. It could be, you know, kind of a conversation. But I think it's just one of those things we really realized there's a lot of ways for us to work together and do a lot together. And obviously other people can join. But I think that was one of the great things. Of course, you know, how you became interested in tech and how tech has impacted you, there is still a difference, obviously, when tech and your life don't always agree. So, do you have any situations where that has happened to you?
Oh, I mean, one experience very recent that I've had in a panel discussion with a couple of tech enthusiasts was more around where there was an argument around if tech was going to take our job. And as you know, some argument sometime is, we know in this era, I would say we know pretty much than each other, right? Because we're exposed to different information from research to innovation and also to disruptive solutions happening currently in the world. But from tech institutions which we fall in and the trends that we follow, so far, there's not been anywhere that tech would be actually replacing humans in any form. I mean, the whole idea of having tech to do some of the work humans do is to increase or as in to have an enhancement and do better job that humans can do. But the truth is that tech can't function without humans. So it still needs a human to train this tech or to use from user because we have different forms of tech. We have the AI, which does something different. We have IoT, does something different. IoT can never work without humans, right? Because someone needs to program the sensors. And then we have things around blockchain. Blockchain cannot just turn itself into reality. It needs humans to program it, and which is a different, total new ball game because it's a game changer with new language, programming language involved, same as big data, which is a lot of different open source trying to lead and emerge in those industries. Now, when you look at it from that point of view, it's almost difficult to say tech itself would replace humans, right? And then we had this argument. It was a long argument, but I was the only one from the opposing side, and I was the only one also from a tech background in a tech system and in the core tech because I was from research to skills, and also from skills to programs leader. So I understood the differences. And if tech was going to replace humans, so why are we then investing a lot to train young people on how to use this tech and how to also be an expert in this new tech? No, so it means that there's a need, and if you feel that is people are not going to lose jobs. It's just that the jobs itself or the job roles are going to be changing. They're going to be getting better. It's just like an AI. They get better when you train them. Now, the jobs are also getting better, and we need to train you as a human to be better. And then, at the end of the day, efficiency is actually effective over time. And this is the focus of where tech is moving to. And that's the ideology we expect young millennials to actually focus on. And then over time, even be better than myself, yourself, to create the next innovative solution. Now, I mean, robots are there for a purpose, but again, robots also have specific reasons. In fact, we have so many different kind of robots. Now we're having robots that are no more robots. They are just chatbots, right? And again, a chatbot can't happen itself. It needs you to actually create a chatbot. A chatbot cannot create itself because it has to come for a function. So someone needs to create this chatbot for that function. Now, if I don't have the skill to create a chatbot, how would the chatbot actually create itself? It's not possible, right? So that's the ideology. And that's what I was trying to say. But again, it also boils down to the fact that it's just my own ideology based off of what I know, what I've seen, and what the innovation we see in the industry, the trends, And also for them, the same, if you're not exposed to some of this information, and a lot of people also see fiction. And when they see a lot of fiction from movies to theories that have not yet been in existence, never tried, but, they assume that it's there, it makes them also feel, hey, this guy is going to take my job, right? The AI is going to take my job, right? No, come on. You should understand. Humans can hold hot metal, right? Hot metal. That's why they had to, start working with robots to do those kind of things, because humans can. But the real truth is the robot can move without you controlling from the back end.
Mm-hmm.
So it's still you, but it's just a better you, but it needs you to actually make that job effective. So that's just what we're trying to say.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think one of the really interesting things about, getting into AI, ML, also using analytics, data and all that, to kind of build, I guess it's like a human brain having experiences, having information to develop our instinct, our intuition, and that's where we start to make decisions in life based on what we think we should do. And of course, there's some automated things like breathing, unless we think about it and stop breathing or force ourselves to breathe, usually our brain just controls it for us on, autopilot. And that's kind of like sometimes you might have some AI system just kind of, run things in the background, but then actively listening and observing and picking up on signals that then trigger an action. I think it's just, the way tech impacts the world. It's easy for us to think of, what you mentioned just now with robots and think, oh man, that's a lot of big things, maybe scary things. But if we all step back, we kind of remember, just now, for example, with, the phone rang, you know, that's a technology we're familiar with. That's technology, this light. Yes, Zoom is new, maybe not so new with the pandemic, but, we're all familiar. But even for me to have this water bottle, to build this water bottle, whether it was a bamboo or wooden or this some kind of plastic or metal, I guess, this is these are all technologies. We just sometimes forget technology isn't always the newest thing. Being able to speak a language or write a language, those are technologies too. And I think it's easy to look at the newest things and think what's going on, but technology has always been impacting the world, and this is just the next step, the next evolution. So, obviously, a lot of what we've been talking about is some communities do get left behind because, we all know with the Industrial Revolution, it led very quickly to a really key transition in the world's history from primarily the imperial powers of Western Europe being able to conquer entire continents. We've also seen how after World War II, the nuclear proliferation has very much shifted geopolitical situations, and even on smaller scales, just the information flow. Who knows about Uber and Lyft versus people in other countries or cities might not have Uber or Lyft. They just have taxis, so they have to wait on a taxi, and even then they might not be able to tell the taxi company, oh, my driver went the wrong way on purpose. With Uber and Lyft, you can do that. So, there's all these large and small things, but through this event, through, the stuff we're trying to do, what would you like to see for your community? And of course, that could mean anything. It could be your physical location. It could be, your group of friends. It could be, your business interests. Just in general, how do you hope to see, what do you hope to see for your community?
Oh, so I mean, from a rural point of view, we want to start saying things around people that are not privileged to be in a university or never been to school before, creating solutions that are helping individuals within the rural community itself. Things around solutions that can help from producing power or a a good power management system, which is one of the big challenge, like a challenge, yes, in West Africa, especially in Nigeria. So, I mean, if a team of or a group of people from the hackathon creates something around all of this, understanding when power comes in, when it goes off, to predict more insights around what to do during when there's power and what not to do before that time. Also help around power consumption from a cost analysis point of view to say, hey, this is what is consuming your power, and this is because again, there's a lot of situation that is causing what power shortage, right? So they can actually help from their solution to say, hey, this is how we can solve our power challenge, having used their own rural area or community as an example or a pilot project to say, I think maybe it's just power overload that is causing us not to have a 24-hour lights, right? And then give reasons for that. We want to see things like this. I know there's a lot of things to consider, from data to IoT sensor devices may be required because, I mean, you're looking at different data points. I know companies like MTN in the south part of Africa, which is South Africa, has used internet and IoT sensor to actually understand the behavior of how poachers poach animals in the wild. So, and how do they do it? They just installed internet capabilities in some part of the desert, that is the Safari Desert, and then also attach sensor to some of the animals, like they used specifically hippos and elephants. And what they were able to understand through research from this project was that the poachers come at specific time in the middle of the night. And when they do come, that's when the hippos actually run for they try to run for their lives. Because again, an hippo will not see a lion and run, right? It's only when they see someone that is shooting at them that they run. So, and how were they able to actually collect this data and able to, see, it's through the help of IoT, through the help of internet, and also through the help of cameras. So it's not just about this was happening, they were also able to capture these events when they do happen on several different footage. So these things are actually there, they are happening. Or do you want us to talk about agriculture? In some part of Africa, like Kenya, they have to wait for birds to fly to give them ideas when the rain is going to fall. Whereas, I mean, the birds may not fly, and then the water level is already okay for you to plant your seeds, right? Yeah. So you don't have to. So what we're saying is, yes, we understand the traditional way, but because of climate change, birds may not have to fly anymore, right? Things change. So with tech, you can actually know the soil level to actually know, hey, it's time for me to plant, because the soil level tells you, based off of IoT or just AI and data, just data itself, and tell you, oh, I think we can plant XYZ kind of plant, or whatever kind of stuff you're trying to actually achieve. So this is what tech is already doing. Or do you want us to talk about the traffic jam situation in Africa, especially in places like Kenya or places like Lagos? How would you know that? You would only know that with the help of tech, AI, data, right? And when you have this kind of solution coming out of rural areas, it helps you to understand, hey, there's traffic in the major roads like XYZ. You can take inner routes to achieve the same goal at a shorter time. And this is the kind of solutions that we are actually trying to encourage young people to create within Africa, and as in so much more. I know in Africa, we have a huge focus more on fintech solutions. But again, fintech is just one industry that we're looking at. What happens to agriculture? This is one of our niche. What are we building, or what are we producing in that niche? We need to find a way to not just diversify our ideology, but also diversify our thinking in producing solutions that will also help us in our day-to-day activities. I mean, food is currently one of the biggest word challenge. So what will it cost you to actually create an app that is helping farmers to actually, close the food shortage gap in the world? So these are things we need to look at, because again, it might not be really useful in country A, but it can actually be a big deal in another country, for example, like Malawi. I mean, agriculture is one of the major resources, but at the same time, they still have food shortage. Now, solutions like this can actually help close those gaps. So these are things that we are looking at, and then we are hoping young people put focus in these different verticals, and then come up with really compelling, innovative solutions that can help young people, old people, close many of these different gaps in the industry that we're looking at.
Yeah, that's great. I think for being in the U.S., obviously a lot of us are not going to think about stuff like, oh, when the birds fly, you start planting. But that does remind me some of the stories my great uncles, they mentioned they still live on a farm in rural Taiwan, and I've been back many times, and it's interesting to see, if you want to shower, you need to turn on those gas first. Um, if you want to get somewhere, you have to walk somewhere first, and then you can connect with the buses. And they're not even the nice city buses that I would see in Taipei or, here in New York City, for example. And, it's a slower pace of life, and they're very much reliant on nature. And like you said, with climate change and all that, thankfully they're not farmers anymore. They're retired, but they're still on the farm. And now they have to adjust. And a lot of times now they rely on my cousins who, they're tech savvy. They're the ones looking up information. And where it used to be my older relatives, my great uncles, great uncles, and I have some really really old relatives. They're still alive, and they would say, yeah, the weather feels like this. They might feel something that we don't know from measuring the temperature, but they also, might not know the exact humidity and temperatures to analytically and scientifically track how crops will grow, what impacts, the squash or watermelons, or the chickens and stuff like that. And, it's fascinating that you mentioned that, because for me, like I said, I don't really think about these things, but I have heard these stories, I have heard these things. So, it's fascinating. So one last question before we go, I would like to ask, what do you want participants to gain from this event?
So, from me, in terms of that question is quite broad, and I think for each and every one of the participants, it differs, because it also boils down to what they really want themselves, and which also connects back to the type of team or groups that they create for their different projects when they actually come up with the ideas. I mean, I can just say, hey, you need to pick or choose individuals. It doesn't have to be from your community. It doesn't have to be from your country, but choose someone that has the same ideology just like you. And we both understand why this is very key or important in terms of success in the long term. Because again, it's hard for me to say Mr. Hay is looking at producing the best kind of solution that will help Microsoft become more inclusive. And Mr. B is saying, hey, I'm just focused on how IoT could help people read and understand Chinese. Now, when you have two different people with two different ideology in a group, hey, the end result is not always that fantastic, because yes, they both have different good complementary skills, but the ideology is not just there. What does that tell you? It means that they are both not on the same page. You both don't necessarily would work together. So you have to understand this from the start, and then put all of these different things into consideration before even coming up with your team. So this is my own take home to participants. You need to be very clear on what you're trying to achieve. same with you, same with your team. It has to be a collective effort as a team, as a collaborator. You guys need to have the same goal. Now, in some cases where some people may be confused around, I don't really mind. I don't have a specific goal. I just want to participate. I have this skill. How do I complement your team? That's different. I mean, it's very clear it's a clear, honest conversation from the scratch, right? Because all they just want is, I want to win with you. Someone else is producing the idea. Oh, and you are a designer. Oh, and you are the coding, the software engineer or programmer. Oh, so you all complement. That's also different. But again, if you have someone that is not even on this same page, I advise you, that person is not for your team, or you want to have a compromise, fair enough. But again, know that you should have that conversation early on before it gets too late for you to actually say no to that person. So, but again, in a general point of view, all I can just say to participants right now is basically know yourself, know your idea, and then know the expected outcome. It might not be clear from the scratch, but at least have an idea of your expected outcome, so that by the time you get to a certain level of about 50%, trust me, the idea will become really certain of what you're trying to achieve. Like talking about us, for instance, we knew what we were expecting, right? But again, from an experience point of view, it sounds pretty much easier, right? It's putting everything together. There's a lot of operational work, a lot of organization, a lot of collaboration, strategy also put in place, and then saying, hey, it's clear that we have this challenge. It's clear that we are having this stumbling block or bottleneck, you call it. And then we say, how do we take ourselves out of this bottleneck? It's still the same thing with working with teams in hackathon. You need to understand all of these different things so that at the end of the day, your solution, your ideology becomes really perfect and actually exceeds your own expectation. So that's my take on.
All right. Thank you, Mayowa. A lot of great words, wise words from wise men, and all the participants. Hopefully, you gain a lot from this. You can definitely check it down below in the video description if you want to connect with Mayowa. We'll add that information. You can also visit our website to find out what else we're doing, register, join us, how other ways you can connect with Mayowa. But in general, we do encourage you, if this video helped you, share it with other people. Talk about this stuff with your friends. Connect with Mayowa. If there is some way for you to learn and grow, and like Mayowa said, to find out what you want for yourself, we definitely want to help out. So, Mayowa, thank you again. It was great having you, and it's been great working with you. Definitely looking forward to doing more, reaching all these countries like Mauritius, Seychelles, just everywhere. Of course, we've already, started reaching out to Ghana, Nigeria, Malawi. So we want to make sure to keep pushing and saying, hey, it doesn't matter where you are. I'm in the US, someone's in Africa. Well, we're going to do our best to reach you. And if you're in a small town, I grew up in small towns. I went to high school in a town with 8,000 people. You might have gone to a smaller town, but that's fine. We're going to do our best to reach all of you. And all we ask is that, if you want to learn and grow, just keep connecting with us. So, it was great having you, Mayowa. We'll see you. I guess they'll see you around. I'm going to keep seeing you pretty frequently.
Yeah, correct.
All right. Thank you again.
Yeah. Thank you too. Thank you for having me.